So it's time to solve some word problems on ratio. The first problem is ratio of distance of the school from Mary's home to the distance of the school from John's home is 2:1. Okay, what it's saying that suppose this is school, okay, and this is Mary's home, this is Mary's home, and this is, let's say, somewhere here, it's John's home, let's suppose. Okay. Now, if this is Mary's home and this is John's home, and the distance that it's talking about from Mary's home to the distance of the school from John's home, right? So let's say that if this is a kilometers, we don't know what the distance is. We only know the ratio. Okay, we only know the ratio. We don't know the exact distance. So if this is a kilometer, and if this is this distance from John's home to the school is b kilometers, and what we have been given here is that the ratio of the distance, that is a ratio b, a ratio b. So a ratio b means what? The distance, ratio of distance of the school from Mary's home to the distance of the school from John's home. So this is a ratio b, let's suppose it's a ratio b, and this is equal to 2:1, right? This is 2:1. We don't know the exact distance. Now what it's asking is who lives nearer to the school. So as I said, we don't know the exact distance, we only know the ratio. What's the ratio? Okay, so in such questions, okay, always look at the ratio. If we have to write this in this form, that is a to b, what we say, a to b. What's a to b? Ratio of the distance from of the school from Mary's home to, okay, the distance of the school from John's home. So a to b is equal to 2:1. Okay, that is 2:1. Now, if this is the ratio, okay, now clearly this number, that is 2, is greater than this number, right? 1. 2 is greater than 1. So, looking at this number, we can clearly say that whatever be the distance, a is always greater than b. Why? Because a ratio b is equal to 2:1. And since 2 is greater than 1, that means a is of course going to be the larger distance. Okay, that's why b distance is smaller than a, and that's why John lives nearer to the school, because this b kilometer represents the distance between John's home and the school, right? Since b is smaller than a, therefore we will say that John lives nearer to the school. And if you want to, check with some numbers, then suppose that a is 10 kilometers, right, and b is 5 kilometers. Let's say that the distance between the Mary's home and the school is 10 kilometers, and the distance between the John's home and the school is 5 kilometers. Now if you are comparing using division, that means you are trying to find a ratio. This will give you what? 2:1, right? It means that it is 2:1. And of course, if you look at this number, 10 is greater than 5, right? So the point is that in any such questions, if the ratio is given to you and you are asked about the, let's say in this case you have been asked about the distance, maybe the ratio is for money distribution, then in that case if we have written who has the greater amount, then you will simply look at the numbers of the ratio, and the number which is greater will be having higher portion. So in this case a is greater than b, it means that the distance a is greater than B, that this distance is greater than this distance, and therefore John's home is nearer to the school. The second part of this question. The second part of the question is complete the following table which shows some possible distances that Mary and John could live from the school. Now, this is distance from Mary's home to the school, and this is distance from John's home to the school in kilometers. What we discussed just now here, if you see it here, we said that we don't know exact kilometers, right? And we only have the ratio, this is 2 ratio. So the same thing you have to apply here. We don't know the distance. What we have been given here is that what possible distances can be, okay, what all possible distances can be. So in such questions, what actually has been asked to you is the equivalent ratio. Remember in the previous videos, in a couple of videos, we discussed about equivalent ratios. So it's asking that since we have been given this ratio only, we don't know the exact distance, and here in our discussion we suppose that let it be A kilometer and this be B kilometer. So what possible distances it could be? No issues. We know the ratio, and from this ratio we can calculate the equivalent ratios. So if I look at this one, this is 10, the distance from Mary's home, that is, it's representing A, and distance from John's home, it's representing B. This ratio is given. If this is 10, it means that if you multiply this 2:1, if you multiply this with 5 and this number with 5, you'll get what? You'll get 10 to 5. 10 to 5, that is 10:5, and that is here. Of course, this is an equivalent ratio, right? Look at this number. We don't know this number, and that's what we have to find using equivalent ratio method. This is 4. So it means that it's talking about equivalent ratio, and let me remove this. So it means it's asking that you have 2:1, that is 2:1 is equal to, we don't know this number, but we know this number, that is 4. Okay, what number can we multiply to 1 so that we get 4? You will say that, hey, 1 times 4 is 4. Now since this is nothing else but an equivalent ratio of this one, so we'll have to multiply the 2 also with number 4. So 2 times 4 will be 8. So this is 8:4, that is 8:4. So this number will be 8. Again, we have 2:1, that is 2:1 is equal to, we know this number, that is 4, but we don't know this number. Again, it's about equivalent ratio. So if it's about equivalent ratio, then what number should be multiplied to 2 so that we get 4? You will say that you have to multiply 2 in order to get 4. Good. So since this is an equivalent ratio, so if you are multiplying 2 with 2, you'll have to also multiply 1 with 2, and therefore this will be 2. So the answer here will be 2. Okay. This one, this is 2:1 equal to, we don't know this number, but we know this 3. Okay, what can we multiply to 1 in order to get 3? You'll say simply multiply it with 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. Now since you have multiplied this 1 with 3, therefore in order to find equivalent ratio, you have to multiply 2 with 3. So this 2 times 3 will give you 6. Here this will be 6. Again, this is 2:1 equal to, we don't know this number, and this is what? 1. Okay, what should be multiplied to 1 in order to get 1? So you say that, of course, 1. So 1 times 1 is 1, and since you have multiplied this 1 with 1, therefore you have to multiply 2 also with 1, and this will be 2. So this is 2 ratio 1. Okay. So in this way, using equivalent ratio method, you can find the answer.